So today's video is going to continue 5-1 notes. If you still need to finish those, maybe you were absent, we did these in class. So today we're going to be writing exponential functions when given an XY chart or a graph or a set of points. So the first thing that I'm going to write out here is our base equation, and that is f of x equals a times b to the x. You can think of this as kind of like y equals mx plus b, but this is our one when we use exponential functions. So to figure out what these letters mean, a is the initial, it's the initial amount, and that is whenever x equals 0. So whatever y is when x equals 0, that is what a is going to be. And then b, that's our ratio, our constant ratio. And we figure this out by seeing what are we multiplying or dividing by each time, and that's for the y's. So for that part. And one way you can figure this out is to take y2 and divide it by y1. So take a larger y, divide it by a smaller one, and that can give you your constant, and we'll see an example of that here in a second. So that's what's important to know when we are defining these, writing out these equations. So we're going to look at our first one, and we're going to write our equation. So we have f of x equals, and now we need to figure out what is a. When x equals 0, right, that is what a is. So when x is 0, y is 4. Now let's figure out b. b is our constant ratio. So what are we multiplying by or dividing by each time we go up in the y's? This one is fairly clear that we are multiplying by 3 each time. So our ratio is 3 to the x. Now if we didn't know this, let's say you couldn't just look at this and know that you're multiplying by 3 each time. One way we could figure this out would be to do 12 divided by 4, and then we would get 3. Okay, let's look at our graph here. I'm going to zoom in because it's a little bit small. And we're going to make an x and y chart for this graph, so that way we can create our equation easier. So it looks like there's a point here, here, and here. Now I'm just kind of estimating these. It's not perfect, it's not exact, and that's okay. So let's do x 0, 1, and 2, which is what we can see here in our graph. So when x is 0, we go up to this point, which it looks like it's about at 1.5. So I'm going to put 1.5 for my y. When we go over 1, we go up, it looks like about 0.6. And then for 2, it looks like we go up about 0.2. So now let's write our equation. So f of x equals, so what is our a? Remember, let me zoom out, a is when x equals 0. So our a is 1.5. Now what is our b? The b is the ratio. So this one, it's not as clear what we are dividing by or multiplying by each time. So to figure this out, I'm going to take 0.6 and divide it by 1.5. And when I do that, I get 0.4. Or if you want to keep that in fraction form, it's 2/5. So either one will work. So I will do times 0.4 to the x. And that is my equation for this one. Let's go on to our last one, number 3. So f of x equals a is 3. Remember, it's when 0 equals x. And what are we multiplying each time to get from 3 to 12, 12 to 48, and so on? We multiply by 4 each time, so e4 to the x. And that is our equation for that one. And remember, these are exponential, so for these ones, it's always going to be a curved line, and it's not going to be linear, so we don't have a slope. We don't go up and over, right? There's no up and over, because there's no slope. So down here, we're defining which one is linear and which one is exponential. And we do that by looking at the x's and the y's for each of these. So when we go from one y to the other one, we want to look at each of these pairs of points here. Are we multiplying and dividing, or are we adding and subtracting? So if we add or subtract, it's linear. If we multiply or divide, it's exponential. So to get from 7 to 4 in this one, we subtracted 3. And then we subtract 3 again, and again, and again, which means that number 1 is linear. On this one, it's a bit easier to look at the whole numbers on number 2 and see that to get from 7 to 14, we multiplied by 2, and 14 to 28, we multiplied by 2. And so this one is exponential. And that is all we have for the notes here. Go ahead and work on your 5-1 homework. Finish that up, and then we will have a video for 5-2 notes.